and welcome to the walkthrough for your HERME brand board. Brand boards are awesome. So if you're thinking that you can skip this step and everything will be fine, well, it probably will, but you're missing out on an amazing resource. So why brand boards? Well, number one, if you're planning on hiring a team or bringing even one more person onto your team, then this is a resource that you're going to want to hand off to them because it's going to instruct them on how your brand looks and how they have to move ahead in order to fit into that brand style. And this is such a clear overview of how that looks. We have your fonts, we have your colors, we have your imagery. These are all things that set the tone for your brand. So new team members will need to know this, and instead of sitting down with them and explaining to them how you want it to look, you can give them this document and it will be quick and painless and they can get a clear idea of what direction you're headed in. Number two, photographers. If you are heading off to a photo session with a photographer and he has no idea what you're about or what your brand is about, then good luck having photos that represent your brand. Number one, if you send this to a photographer, they are going to make sure that these colors are incorporated in the shot, which is so important. The last thing you want to do is head over to a photo session and these are your colors and the photographer shoots you in front of a blue backdrop because your eyes are blue and it looks great. Well, that doesn't really go with your brand. So you're going to be stuck with photos where there's a huge disconnect between your headshot and your everything else that you're promoting in your brand. So photographers, you send this off to them and they get a clear idea of who you are and what you want. And especially if you do this imagery section right, photographers are so visual. So they'll see this and they'll get a tone. They'll understand what tone your brand is. So you might be a dark, gloomy, not a dark, gloomy person, but your brand might be dark and moody, right? And you love those photos and you love like dramatic photos like this guy here, and you want some brand shots where it looks like this rather than the stereotypical realtor shot, bright white in front of a white backdrop. You want something a little bit more interesting. The photographer's not going to know that unless you, one, spend a lot of time explaining it to him, or two, send him your brand board. And then you are all set with him knowing exactly what visuals you're after. So that's why this is such a great tool. Number three is just to send it to another designer. If you're planning on using a designer for things in your business, this is the tool you want to send them, because I guarantee the first question you're going to get from them is, what fonts do you use? What's your color palette? And what look are you going for? Well, if you send them this, they're going to know. So you don't have to worry about having conversations back and forth. So even though it's a little bit tempting to skip this step and to not put all of this information into your board, please just take the half hour that it takes to actually do this and you'll have this resource for you and it'll just make your life so much easier in the future. So how do we use it? Well, you're going to head over to your other designs that you've created in Canva, so your primary logo, and you're going to hit Command A as in Apple on your keyboard, or Control A if you have a PC, and that's going to select all the elements. Then I'm going to right click, copy, head back over to my brand board and paste it in here. So just going to delete all these because we no longer need them. And I'm just going to hit right click on my mouse and paste that in here. Then I'm going to resize by dragging the corner down. Just going to fit it into this box so it fits nicely. And that's as easy as it gets. How beautiful does that look? And now when your designer, photographer, new team members see it, they know exactly what your brand is all about. You're going to do the same thing for each thing, each element. So you're going to head over to this document here and you're going to take each one by one and move it into your brand board. Then if you have decided to work with a new color palette, then this is where you're going to edit, and you're just going to click on the color box. You're going to put the hex code in there, which will change the color, and then you take this hex code, you copy it, and you just change that number there. If you've changed or altered the pattern, same thing. Copy, bring it in here, paste it. Icons, if you've changed the icons, exactly the same thing. Otherwise, if you have changed the color of the icons outside of Canva and you'd like to bring them, your new icons in, make sure to head over to Uploads, upload an image or video, and then you can upload them all in here and place the new icon set there. Your font, if you've changed the font, just select it, head over here, and make sure to write out the new font name. Now, the most important thing about your brand board, in my opinion, is the imagery, and you really want it to represent who your clients are, who you are, what direction your brand is moving into, what you represent, all of these things in photos. So how do you do that? You head over to the photo section and you start searching for things that you like or that represent who you are and how you interact with your clientele. So if your clients are interested in investments, you might want to choose properties that you are most familiar with or that you promote most of the time. So if they're new builds in Toronto, you might want to put some condos in there. You might want to put the type of photography that you're using in your branding. So when you're on Instagram, what type of photos do you lead with? Are they dark and moody or are they bright and airy? And then make sure to put them in here and make sure that all the coloring and all the tones are matching how you've illustrated your logo up here. So this might be just type in condo, for example. And you look through these photos of condos and you're looking for something that you think represents your clientele, what you guys believe in, and the tone, the coloring of the photo itself, so the tone of the photo. So I'm going to choose this one. It looks like it fits right in. And then you can double click on that photo and change the focus point. So if you want more of the steps showing, you can play around with it until it's like, yep, that's the one. And always be asking yourself questions like, what does this mean? Like when I'm looking at this, what would a new team member think? You know, are we only working with lofts? Do we always have to take these photos of model-like poses? Or like, what is it? What's our brand and who is our clientele? Because when I look at these photos, the ones that I had before, it looks high-end, chic, cool. It doesn't look like, oh, we're super high-end, but it looks like, you know what, we understand our clientele who might be looking for a more high-end property, but also with a cool undertone, with an urban vibe. So these are things to consider when you're putting together your brand board. Make sure to spend extra time on the imagery. Think of patterns, colors, wording. So I like to always include patterns like this or wording like this. I don't like to just have photos of people and rooms. It just gives more of an overview of what the brand is. So think about all these things when you are putting together your brand board. And if you need any more help, head on over to fourthstreetcreative.com/tutorials for a large resource library. Happy designing!